Today is Friday, May 22nd, 2026. Welcome to This Week in Natural Refrigerants News, where we recap the top stories on naturalrefrigerants.com. This podcast is generated and read by artificial intelligence and may contain errors. We're your hosts, AT and MO, and the articles for today's podcast were organized by naturalrefrigerants.com's managing editor and written by its writers. You can find links to each article in the show notes.
Yeah, so we have a lot of regulatory and technology news to cover today, starting with some massive shifts from the U.S. EPA.
We really do. I mean, they just dropped their final revision to the Technology Transitions Rule, and they've basically slammed the brakes.
Exactly. For supermarkets and cold storage, the compliance deadline for refrigerants with a GWP under 150 or 300, that's pushed all the way out to 2032 now.
Wow, 2032.
Yeah, and between now and 2027, installations can still use up to 1,400 GWP.
Oh.
And they've also proposed exempting transport refrigeration units, or TRUs, from those recent leak repair requirements.
Which honestly makes the political context around this pretty intense. Like, just neutrally reporting what's in the articles here. The Trump administration claims this delay, and the TRU exemptions will save $2.4 billion.
Right, but then you have AHRI and environmental NGOs arguing the exact opposite.
Exactly. They point out that this actually strains the supply of legacy refrigerants, which drives up costs, harms the climate, and, penalizes U.S. manufacturers.
Well, yeah, think about the OEMs who already retooled their factories. They committed significant capital to phase down high GWP systems based on that prior timeline.
It's literally like moving the goalpost mid-game. You built the factory because the law demanded it, only to be told halfway through that the old systems are fine for another decade.
It's a tough spot.
But for everyone listening, you really have to contrast that regulatory friction in the U.S. with the absolute tailwind happening over in Asia right now.
Oh, totally. Looking at the new atmosphere report on commercial and industrial refrigeration, Japan is setting a massive pace.
The numbers in that report are huge.
They really are. They're tracking nearly 15,000 transcritical CO2 installations there. And Lawson alone has a 56% CO2 adoption rate across its entire fleet.
But, when you read the sources, it's clear that isn't just spontaneous market demand. Japan's Ministry of the Environment threw 7 billion yen at natural refrigerant subsidies.
Which completely alters the ROI calculation for a retailer.
Exactly. I want you to consider how critical direct government subsidies are as a tailwind. When the government underwrites the transition, it just rapidly accelerates the market.
It really de-risks early adoption. And the report notes we're starting to see emerging momentum in China, South Korea, and Southeast Asia too.
So while Asia scales up retail deployment, let's pivot to some specific European product innovations hitting the market.
Right, like Systemair Slovenia, their CEO, Anton Zupančič, just did an interview confirming the official commercial launch of the CO2 Compass.
The CO2 Compass, right. That's an air handling unit with an integrated CO2 heat pump designed specifically for public pools.
Yep. And they're also focusing on reversible heat pumps coming up. But the really interesting part is their stance on PFAS.
Yeah, they are completely uncompromising there. They're making the total removal of PFAS their ultimate global destination, regardless of regional regulations.
They're engineering it out of their pipeline entirely. And speaking of pushing boundaries, Systemair is targeting commercial comfort, but Danfoss is going after extreme industrial applications.
Right, they're high-temperature heat pumps. Danfoss laid out a roadmap to achieve 150 degrees Celsius for industrial steam applications using hydrocarbons in cascade.
Yep. They're targeting butane to reach 135 degrees and then isopentane to hit 150.
Wait, pause for a second. 150 degrees. Mechanically, how does equipment even run that hot? I mean, how does a standard compressor survive 130 degrees without warping or destroying its lubrication?
Well, the short answer is it doesn't. Danfoss actually had to physically remove the integrated inverter and the slide valve just to reliably handle 130 degrees.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the thermal expansion at those temperatures would cause a standard slide valve to seize completely.
Right.
So they had to strip it back to its fundamental mechanics.
That's wild. It's like stripping a rally car down to a raw roll cage and an engine block just to survive a desert race.
That's the engineering reality of thermal stress.
Wow. All right, so let's shift from extreme industrial heat to massive industrial cooling scale.
Right. Over in Uzbekistan, the Korzinka supermarket chain just opened a 49,000 square meter distribution center.
Which makes it the largest Class A facility in Central Asia.
Exactly. And to handle that, Ingenium installed a 1.8 megawatt CO2 refrigeration system.
1.8 megawatts. That's massive.
Yeah, that single centralized hub is serving 184 stores across the country.
It really puts the sheer scale of this infrastructure into perspective.
It definitely does.
This is AT and MO, and this has been the Week in Natural Refrigerant News.